welcome to an American Talk Show. I'm your host, David Allard. We have two guests today for the show. Please introduce yourselves.
My name is Kenneth Carrabba. I am a Christian, and I am 44 years old, and I live in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
My name is Hal Allard. I'm also a Christian for 10, 12 years, and I live in Phillipston, Mass.
Thank you. And the topic for today's show is creation versus evolution, and creation in the school system versus evolution in the school system. And just to give a brief background of this issue, because this issue is quite old, it was made famous in the case of Scopes versus the state of Tennessee in 1927, when an individual by the name of John Thomas Scopes was convicted of violating a Tennessee statute. The statute prohibited the teaching of evolution theory in all the universities and schools, which was supported by public funds. It was actually a set-up case. Scopes really probably didn't teach evolution, but he swore he did. He was only a 24-year-old guy, and they looked for a person to be a test case for the Supreme Court. So he went to trial, and he was convicted. He was convicted of teaching evolution against the law of Tennessee. He was represented by Clarence Darrow, a very famous lawyer. It was also known as the monkey trials. And after he was convicted, they appealed to the Tennessee Supreme Court, and the Tennessee Supreme Court made the following statement. They said, "They failed to see how the prohibition of teaching the theory that man descended from a lower order of animals gives preference to any religious establishment. If the legislature thinks that by reason of popular prejudice the cause of education and the study of science generally be promoted by forbidding the teaching of evolution in schools of the state, we can conceive of no ground to justify the court's interference. The courts cannot sit in judgment on such acts of the legislature or its agents, and to determine whether or not the omission or addition of a particular course of study tends to cherish science." So the court in Tennessee said, hands off. We're not getting involved with this. It's up for the state legislature to make those laws. We're not going to decide on a piecemeal basis what should or should not be in the school curricula. That changed in 1968. In 1968, the U.S. Supreme Court in Epperson versus Arkansas, a teacher brought a suit challenging the exact same statute, which said it's unlawful for a teacher in any state, supported school, or university to teach from a textbook that teaches mankind has ascended or descended from a lower order of animals. The U.S. Supreme Court held that the Arkansas statute violated the First Amendment to the Constitution and that it cannot be defended as an act of religious neutrality. The court said that Arkansas did not seek to excise from the curricula of its schools and universities all discussions of the origin of man. The law's effort was confined to an attempt to blot out a particular theory because of its supposed conflict with the biblical account literally read. So the court absolutely reversed basically what happened in Tennessee. And the court said, yeah, we are going to get involved in the teaching of the school system. That became, again, an issue in Edwards versus Aguillard. In 1987, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a Louisiana law which prohibited the theory of evolution in public schools unless accompanied by instruction in the theory of creation science. So Louisiana tried to get both in. They said, okay, if you're going to teach evolution, then you got to teach creation. Supreme Court struck that down, said, no, that's promoting a religion. And then eventually, in 1980, the Oregon Attorney General opinion stated that given that the Supreme Court's description of the Bible is an instrument of religion, it is unlikely that a theory based explicitly upon that book could be found non-religious. So basically, the court is going to be neutral in anything that's based on a biblical account or science would be struck down as unconstitutional, a violation of the First Amendment, not teachable in the school system. So I have a few questions for you folks based on that. Knowing that you guys would both define yourselves as Christians, is that true?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, should creation science be taught in public schools, and if so, why? Hal, let me ask you that question.
Well, I think creation science should be taught in school because it's the fundamental beliefs of this country. There's evidence to support that the Bible is biblical history, and there's evidence to support such things like the flood and so forth. You can prove through evidence that a flood happened.
And Kenny, what would you say to that?
I agree. I believe our country was built on Christianity by our forefathers and old presidents, and the schools have taught for years. Almost every college and university or high school taught the Bible and Christianity in the schools, and it should not be taken out because it's what this country is built on.
So some people believe that neither evolution theory nor creation theory are science, but really religion. What do you think about that, Hal?
Well, evolution, it takes a lot to believe in evolution. It's a lot of theory, like the Big Bang and so forth. That's not provable. That's all just theory. So to put that in the textbooks is kind of a stretch, because you're teaching a child, okay, well, this happened so many million years ago, but there's no way to really prove or pinpoint it. So to teach a child in school that evolution is a fact is a stretch.
Is creationism a science or a religion? Kenny?
I believe creationism is more of a faith or a belief in Christianity according to the Bible. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
So would you put evolution and creationism on the same footing with regard to the school system and the teaching, whether they both should be taught or none of them should be
Well,
taught?
here's what I believe. Let's say one of those two is true, and I won't say which one, but if one of them is true, whether it's creation or evolution, then it would be common sense theology that the opposite or the other one is not true. So since people have a right to believe what they believe is true or not, then if they're going to teach creation in the schools, then it should be by choice what you want to believe in the schools. If you want to not believe in that teaching, you have a right to not go to it. What I see is the government is trying to say that we're going to teach evolution in the school, and there's no creation. But that's a violation of the First Amendment, which I have here, which says the U.S. Constitution forbids the establishment of any religious government. If the government is saying they're going to put into the schools evolution and take out the Bibles, which is what they've already been doing for many years, they're violating our First Amendment.
So you are believing that evolution in fact is a religion then and not a science?
Yes.
And how would you concur with that?
I would concur, because evolution, you have to believe that something came from nothing, and then it formed into a big bang and explosion, and then the rocks somehow got rained on and created life. And for all of that to come together, and here we are today, it's all theory and speculation, nothing based upon fact.
So is there then a distinction between evolution and science?
Creation science? Well,
Creation and science.
I'll stand by.
No, evolution and science. Is there a distinction between they're teaching evolution to the kids as a science.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying it is a theory, not a science,
It's just
not
a theory.
a provable
It's not a provable theory. It's just a theory.
And Kenny, do you agree with that?
Yes, I believe it's a theory. Just like Christianity is a faith to believe that the Bible teaches the creation of everything here on earth is from a God, a creator. So anybody who doesn't believe that is going by what would be called a theory, not fact.
So what should be taught in the schools, Kenny?
I believe what should be taught in the schools is what's been taught in the schools from the beginning of the Constitution, which is America is a Christian country. I have Wikipedia facts here that state in 2002, 59% of Americans said religion played an important role in their lives, and I believe religion is basically referring to Christianity. In 2007, a survey said 78% of Americans identify themselves as Protestant Christian, which happens to be down from 86% in 1990. But even if it's gone down today, let's say right today it's 70%, that means 7 out of 10 Americans still are Christian.
How would you respond to that? And do you have any historical evidence that would support what Kenny's saying?
Well, this country was founded on religion. It was, and we left England. The Protestants left the Puritans, and they established a foundation of America based upon the religion. The foundation was agreed upon, and the Bible was taught as the basis of society, as the United States, or what is today not the United States. So I'm not sure why we would move from that. So today America is Christian, primarily Christian. So
how do you explain the First Amendment, where Congress shall make no laws establishing religion or prohibit the free exercise thereof? How does that comport with your view that America is Christian?
Well, I think that Congress decided that we should separate the church and state, and they don't want to interfere with religious beliefs. But I actually think that's a mistake, because that's what America was actually founded under, is Christianity, and that's the fundamental belief of the people. And
do you think it's possible to separate church and state truly?
no, it's not possible, because everything that we have in state is the president swears in on a Bible, and on the dollars and the coins is "In God We Trust," and when you pledge of allegiance, it's one nation under God. So all of these things, it's very hard to separate. And not only that, but you have principles. If you're going to be of a Christian faith, then there's principles of right and wrong. And if you're going to all of a sudden preach that being a Muslim is part of the founding of this nation, then you have completely different principles than what you would be if it was founded on Christianity.
Kenny, how would you respond to that?
I agree with Hal said.
What if a school board got together and decided that they were going to only teach Shariaism, Muslim, fanatical information in their schools, in their textbooks? Would that be appropriate, or would that be establishment of a religion?
I believe it would be inappropriate, because of the fact that they're teaching now religion into a school where they're going to show the teachings of something different than Christianity.
But would that be a conflict with the First Amendment?
Some people would say no, but I would say yes.
What would you say with regard to that?
Well, what's interesting is in Australia, Treasurer Peter Costello, he seen as an heir apparent to Howard, hinted that some radical clerics would be asked to leave the country if they did not accept that Australia was a secular state and its laws were made by Parliament. He says, if those are not your values, if you want a country which has Sharia law or theocratic state, then Australia is not for you, he said on national television. I'd be saying to clerics who are teaching that there are two laws governing people in Australia. One, the Australian law, and another, the Islamic law. That is false. So if you're not of the foundational beliefs and you want to start your own school based upon a new faith, then maybe you shouldn't be in America.
So would you be saying then that we already have a religion established, despite what the First Amendment says?
I would say so. And throughout history, that's what this country is founded on, right from the Mayflower. And in fact, all through history, 1781, a Congress approves the purchase of Bibles to be used in schools. 1783, first the Noah Webster speller is published with this opening sentence declaring, "No man may put off the law of God," which is, this country is established on the law of God, and God we trust. And if we're going to, we have to define who that God is. And I think as Puritans came into this country, they knew who God was, and it was the God of the Bible.
And when we talk about the school systems up until the late part of the 19th century, what was their view on textbooks and God in textbooks?
Well, God was a primarily source, or the Bible was primary source of education throughout early history, is that they would introduce that in schools as the publication to use. Just like I said, in 1781, Congress approved the purchase of the Bibles to use in schools. That's how many kids learned to read back in the day. But also it teaches them fundamental beliefs that we as Americans pass on from generation to generation.
I'm going to read to you a little bit of a Supreme Court case. Actually, it was the United States Court of Appeals Ninth Circuit case. Jan Rowe and Rothschild were the plaintiffs versus Rio Linda Union School District. In this case, which was handed down in 2010, the question was, does the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance in the class by the teacher violate the Establishment Clause? And here's what the court said about that. We are called upon to decide whether the teacher-led recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands by students in public schools constitutes an establishment of religion prohibited by the United States Constitution. We hold it does not. The pledge is constitutional. The Pledge of Allegiance serves to unite our vast nation through the proud recitation of some of the ideals upon which our republic was founded and for which we continue to strive, one nation under God. The Founding Fathers believed that the people of this nation are endowed by their Creator